Welcome to Pursuing Quality Long-Term Care, an educational podcast for individuals needing long-term care and their families. In this episode, we speak directly to two long-term care residents in Texas and Ohio about the importance of the recently released Biden administration nursing home reforms, the problems that they face in their day-to-day lives from the inadequate and untrained staff, and what other improvements they would like to see that would help improve their lives in long-term care.
Hi, everyone. On February 28th, 2022, the Biden administration announced that it would be implementing new nursing home reforms. These reforms include the most significant improvements to nursing homes in decades. They include the creation of a minimum staffing standard in nursing homes, accountability for poor performing nursing homes, increased transparency around ownership and finances, and support for direct care staff. These reforms are critical and desperately needed to address the inadequate conditions that many residents face in their day-to-day lives. Today, we want to talk with nursing home residents directly about what some of these reforms might mean to them, as well as what their experiences have been through the pandemic and over the past few years. So first, I'm going to ask Cindy if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Cindy, and I live in the Dallas area in Texas, and I've lived in a nursing home for over 4 years.
Thanks so much. And Marguerite?
Hi, my name is Marguerite. I live in Southeast Ohio, and I have been in a nursing home for 5 years.
Thanks so much. And thank you both so much for taking the time to talk with us today. One of the biggest reforms from the Biden plan is a minimum staffing standard. We know that so many facilities have historically been understaffed, both before and throughout the pandemic. And so I think it makes sense to spend a bit of time talking about staffing. And I just wanted to ask you both, what does it mean to you when there isn't enough staff in a facility? And I want to preface that by saying that we're meeting here today on Zoom. So I know that both of you are arguably a bit better off than many nursing home residents who don't have that kind of access. But in general, in a nursing home, when there isn't enough staff for you personally or for other people within your facility, what does that mean? What does that look like in your day-to-day life when there isn't enough staff in the facility?
Well,
I
for
think
me,
that, go ahead.
Go ahead, Marguerite. Go ahead, Marguerite.
Okay. I think for me, not enough staff usually means long wait times.
Right.
I'm in a power chair and can't walk. So for me, it is, I will always need two people to move me into my chair or into my bed. And so that is the main thing that where I personally notice it.
That makes sense. And Cindy?
As far as staffing goes, staffing in all areas of a nursing home affects the other areas. If we don't have enough people in our housekeeping or laundry area, then we don't get the linens necessary for our CNAs to do their showers. So there'll be some days when they can't do a shower because there's no towels to give you a shower. Staffing in all areas affects a different department. If there's not enough people making our food, that affects when we get our food, and therefore it affects when people can go back to bed, when they can get cleaned up. I mean, just staffing, mostly we feel it with the nursing staff, but it also just affects all areas of a nursing home.
Thanks. That is a really good point. And I think you're right. Often when we're talking about staffing, we think about CNAs and we aren't really thinking beyond what that means when other areas of the facility aren't staffed and how that impacts even what the CNAs can do.
Right. It really does.
So another question somewhat related, and this is more, I think, about the CNA experience. And Marguerite, to your point about needing help physically moving from one place to another, there's a lot we hear about turnover with staff. We know turnover in nursing home staff is just, I mean, in many facilities, it's 100% in a year. I mean, staff comes and goes. And we also know that there's been a big increase in agency staff coming into a facility, which means that sometimes, you know, and I guess I don't need to be telling you guys this, but often there can be staff who doesn't know you. Like there could be a new staff member who comes in, and I guess my next question is, what does that mean? You know, when there's a staff member who comes in who doesn't know you, who doesn't know what you need, or, you know really your history. I don't know if that's something you experience regularly, or just what happens when that's the situation.
Well, for me, it just takes a lot longer for someone to be able to help you when they don't know you. You have to explain a lot to them. Hopefully they'll listen to you and do it the way that you're used to doing it. Fortunately, I can ask them and let them know how I like things done. But again, we have residents that aren't able to do that. As far as training someone how to take care of you, a lot of times with the short staff, they're just thrown in there and say, you're going to take care of these people. They know nothing about the people. And I mean, for people that can't speak, I don't understand how they're really able to take care of them well enough. I think that's a huge problem that, you know, they're not educated as to what each resident, and even if the nursing staff knows, like our nurse knows what an individual's needs or whatever are, they do not share them with the CNA. I think the CNAs go in there blind and they don't have any information about what their diagnosis is, what their needs are. And so it's really frustrating for some of our residents that they may have a certain issue. Like, for example, we have maybe a resident who is suffering from dementia, and they don't know how to put their clothes on. They don't even know how to feed themselves. And then the CNA will just set a tray down in front of them and not really know what their needs are. They don't know to take their lids off. They don't know, you know, that they might need some help being fed. And it's I'm sure it's frustrating for that resident, but it's frustrating for the other residents to see that this person is struggling and no one is addressing it. So
that's yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. I want to come back to the training issue that you mentioned, and also just say that we know that throughout the pandemic, this was happening a lot, and part of that was just the nature of the understaffing, that a CNA would go into a bedroom and just put down the tray, and then they'd leave because they'd have to go deliver a tray to someone else, and sometimes those residents could not feed themselves. But before we move on to training, because I think that's a really important topic, Marguerite, do you have anything to share just about staff turnover or agency staff?
Yeah, I do. During the pandemic, some of the state requirements for people who were entering the profession were waived. So these were people who had done a 10-day online class, had not seen any residents, and were thrown off the deep end. And maybe they got a day of orientation together with another aide, and then they were on their own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's
shocking.
Yeah, during COVID, they're allowing unlicensed CNAs to come into the facilities and work. And a lot of them are so new that they don't really know what they're doing, especially when it comes to using equipment. Again, that goes back to training. The Hoyer lifts, the sit to stand lifts, you know, they're not familiar with those. And I know in the state of Texas, there's supposed to be 2 people doing a Hoyer and doing the sit to stand lift, but we're lucky if we get 1 person to help. So we never have 2 people doing those machines.
So
What
that
about
was
you,
For
Marguerite?
us as well, we need 2 people. Oftentimes we only have 1 aide on the floor, and
Yes.
sharing a nurse with a different unit. So it can make for.
We have a freeze on there.
Yeah, Marguerite, you just froze for a minute.
Yeah, she's still. Yeah, and my understanding.
Also people to operate a Hoyer lift, and with only 1 staff member on the floor, it can mean that you have to wait for a long time for that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually what you both mentioned is what my next question was going to be. We know that when the pandemic started, there was a waiver of training requirements, and facilities allowed temporary nurse aides who had not fulfilled the required training requirements to enter facilities. We also know that now 2 years later, that has not stopped. That waiver has not been lifted. And so you've already spoken quite a bit to this, but you know, if you could sort of describe what you think, you know, and I know this is a very broad question, but what you think is just integral for a staff member. I mean, again, and when you think about the very start of the pandemic, if there isn't enough staff and there really isn't anyone, the goal was to get people into facilities, but what do staff need to know? I mean, to start, you know, what sort of requirements do you think are necessary that staff be trained on before they even enter the facility, in order to provide the care that people need?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know it's very broad. I'm sorry.
How long is this going to be? I don't think I could have enough time to go over everything.
I mean,
But
you don't need to go over
safety,
everything, but
you know, safety is first
mm-hmm.
and foremost, in my opinion. Making sure that they're safe and that they know how to handle a resident. You know, we still have people that will, you know, pick up someone's foot by squeezing it and causing bruising instead of lifting it from the bottom of the foot. I mean, just things, little things like that they need to be trained on. How to turn someone, how to just bathe and shower, and all of the things. When a resident can get hurt doing this is what
Mm-hmm.
they need to be trained to do well, in my opinion.
I agree.
Anytime you're touching a resident or bathing them or showering or whatever, you need to think about safety at all times and do it in the safest possible way. And
and
some of the newbies don't know how to do that.
Right.
What about you, Marguerite?
I think you're right. Safety is very important, and being aware of the needs of the specific resident you're dealing with. It's not one size fits all
Right.
in the approach. So,
right.
And with understaffing, that kind of awareness might not always be around, where people have limited time to help you. And like you said earlier, Cindy, I can voice my own wishes and make clear what I like and what I don't like. But there are many people who do not have that capability, and they should get the same care that I managed to get for myself.
Yes, that's true.
Right. And that brings me, I guess, to another question. On a more personal level, for you personally, what are your interactions like with the staff you work with, and then how do you think residents in your facility are treated by staff?
I think that my interactions with the people who work with me is quite okay, but it really entails building up trust. So if you have
Right.
different people all the time and you have to explain time and again what it is that you like, it gets very tiring. And so the people who generally work with me on the floor where I'm at, we get along well because we interact, and they
Right.
want me to be happy, and I think that they manage that quite well. So yeah.
Like the staff that you work with day to day, you build up a relationship with them. You learn to trust them. They know what your capabilities are. But when you are understaffed again and you have new people coming in and you try to tell them how you like something or don't like something, I feel like I've had some new people say, oh no, we're going to do it my way. We're not going to do it your way.
Mm.
Or, I mean, they've been very, this is not, the way that we're going to do it. And I make it very clear to them that, no, we're going to do it my way. And I've had to call like a nurse in to let them know that I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I know the way that it's done and that I need to be listened to. And all residents should, have a voice and let you know how to take care of them. And if they can't, then, you do your best. But for us that can speak, they should listen to us and do it the way that we want it done.
Have you had much interaction with the administrators in your facility?
Oh, yes, I have.
And so how is that?
Well, we have a big turnover in administrators as well.
Mhm.
So I've tried working with him, and I've tried working with our director of nursing as well. And I really haven't gotten anywhere. So I've just decided that I need to file complaints with the state to try to get some action done. And so I've done that. When I tried to find out when we were going to open up our dining room, when we were going to open up our group activities, when we were going to be allowed to meet for resident council. We have not met for resident council since December.
Oh, wow.
And our activities director has just been going around interviewing people. And when she came to me to ask me, I said, this is not a resident council meeting, so I'm not going to participate in this.
Good for you.
So, and I didn't get anywhere. I didn't get any answers. So I really just wanted to call the state to find out what their time frame is. We look at the CDC rules, but we don't get really clear answers on when we could open. And so they did come and visit and find out. And just a few days after they were here is when they started opening up the dining room. But I find that, I'm sure they're overworked too. We have a new social worker that just started, because that's a big turnover area as well. And it's just, it's frustrating. So I don't want that responsibility of being frustrated. So I just decided there's an organization, it's called the State Surveyors. And if I have an issue, I'm just going to let them know to come and take care of it, because I don't need that responsibility.
So you go outside the facility then?
I do.
That,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that makes a lot of
I
sense.
mean, I've
Marguerite,
tried
Mhm.
working with them, and and I don't get answers. So I've had to do that.
That's exactly what we tell people to do. So it's great that you have the ability and the knowledge to be able to actually take those steps.
Yes. Yes. Grateful for
Nice.
that.
We I have meetings with our administrator, not really regularly, but every now and then, just to know what is going on. And during all through the lockdown, that happened more often. We have a newer administrator now. Yeah, I try and keep a conversation going, just so I know what is going on, and also to let them know what the residents' council has decided or is talking about. And so yeah, I try and talk. That is the main thing.
Do they listen to your issues from resident council?
Yeah, they do, and sometimes they don't. Some things are very easily fixed, but other things I have the feeling that the real issue is not addressed, but kind of fudged around the edges. And so yeah, well, I talk about that, and they often like to say that it is understaffing, which is part of the truth, but sometimes it's also a choice to have fewer people in the building than necessary. So
do you have a lot of turnover in your management positions as well?
In 5 years, I've seen 4 administrators.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about social workers?
We had the administrator and the social worker and some other people all leave at the same time to work in a newly opened facility.
Oh, okay.
So they all left at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That must have been difficult.
Yeah, that was challenging. Yeah.
Have you experienced ownership changes in your facilities?
No, my facility is owned by a corporation, and they own a lot of different nursing homes throughout Texas and I believe Louisiana and Oklahoma. So they're part of a large group.
I think our owner owns 52 nursing homes in Ohio and Indiana and somewhere else, I don't know, around here. Yeah, that's a lot.
That is
lots of big corporations.
Yes.
Yeah.
So to take things back to the Biden administration's announcement about these reforms, I was wondering if you could both answer what this would really mean to you on a day-to-day basis in your facility. If there was a minimum staffing standard in nursing homes, and also, it includes support for direct care staff, what it would mean to staff if these get implemented.
Maybe I could talk to a situation I recently experienced. I was on a 3-day steroid course, and on day 3, I was told that there was no IV qualified nurse in the building, and that they were going to administer that the next day. And I mean, it's 3 days for a reason, right? So I told them that I thought that was not the way it should go, that they should find someone to come and administer my final dose. And since I insisted, they did, and found an RN to come in and administer the final dose and remove the IV. That doesn't happen. I mean, that shouldn't happen. It is,
of course.
This is a skilled facility, and they should have skilled staff on hand or in the building and not somewhere else. And yeah, I don't know. So
So having the required staff would make a big difference, especially for people who, unlike you, cannot really push and advocate for themselves in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Cindy, do you have anything to add to that, or?
What was the question?
That's okay. Just what would these provisions, what will these provisions from the Biden administration mean for you and impact your life in a nursing home?
Well, some days we wake up and we don't know if there's going to be someone to get us out of bed. I mean, my daughter and I like to get up every day, and today, we had a person. I turned my call light on at 10 o'clock to get up, and I got up at I was up by 11. But there's some days, like my daughter today's her shower day. And our shower days are 3 days a week, but we usually only shower every other shower day. So she stayed in bed today hoping that she gets a shower. So it's at 2 o'clock is our shift change. So we're sitting here thinking, will she get a shower or will she not get a shower? It depends on who comes in to work. It depends again on if there's linens to give her a shower. It depends if they can find a shower chair to put her in. If they have a Hoyer shower sling to get her to take her into the shower. So there's a lot of factors to think about on your shower day. Are you going to get a shower? Because you've got all these different things that you have to be concerned about whether or not you're going to get one. So again, we're waiting until 2 o'clock to find out who comes into work and if we're going to have enough people to give her a shower. So this is something that we deal with on a daily basis, whether or not we're going to have enough people to take care of us, enough people to get us out of bed, enough people to bring us our lunch or take us to the dining room or take us to therapy or just anything. It's always a daily wonder if there's going to be enough people to do the job.
And those are things that people who aren't in facilities, just everything we take for granted, being able to do.
Right. When you have someone that all your needs, you depend on somebody to take care of you and you don't know if they're going to be here to do it. So, and then if we do get up in the morning, will we have enough people to be able to put us back to bed? Will we get to bed at a decent time? So, I'm in a wheelchair. We're both in a wheelchair all day long. If we get up at 10, then we need to get in bed by 8 o'clock or we're in pain because sitting in the same spot all day long is painful. And so if we don't have people that come in for the afternoon shift and the night shift, then we may not get to bed and be out of pain. So those are daily concerns that we have.
Thank you both so much for sharing that. Marguerite, were you going to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say that I found the distinction between having staff that will give a certain amount of time per resident for services rather than counting the number of residents and then saying, oh, that means so many staff will be needed. It's a different way of looking at staffing, I think. And it would be helpful because 4 hours a day is quite a lot compared to what is happening right now. And
yeah. So the last question I was going to ask you both, and again, thank you both so much for your time today. And I think this has just been, so helpful and impactful for people who are going to be listening. But the Biden administration's new plan includes minimum staffing standards and accountability and increased transparency for ownership and finances and support for direct care. It also pushes for individual rooms for residents. But is there anything else that from your perspective, you think the government should be doing and should be looking at right now to improve the lives of nursing home residents? Something that isn't really on that list.
You should have given us a what's up on that before the meeting.
I'm sorry.
Let me see. I think a lot of people in nursing homes need more social interaction. During the pandemic, again, people stayed in their rooms. They didn't get to go out into the community, anything like that. But there should be ways for our staff to be able to take us. Like we don't have a bus here. I mean, it's something that I've asked for. I mean, we have a bus that takes us to our doctor's appointments, but we never get to go out and like go for a ride in a van, get dropped off at the local Walmart. This facility doesn't do that at all. And that's something that I'd like them to add.
That's a great answer. And you're right. I should have given you that question beforehand. I apologize.
And there is
we thought
more
of it
to life
today.
Pardon?
Oh, we thought that question up today. I just wrote it down a couple minutes before.
All right. Marguerite, what do you think?
I was thinking that there should be more to residents' lives than the direct care. And you brought up activities that are, elsewhere as well. Like we do have a bus, and they are thinking about doing that again. That's about how far we've gotten so far. So it's not reality at the moment.
Is your bus wheelchair accessible for how many?
Yes.
How many chairs?
I think it can. I think 3 people. It is 3 wheelchairs, and that's it. So it's not a lot. And
again, and that we don't have enough staff to be able to go with us.
Right.
So we have to have staff to go with us on an outing. And so, yeah.
Well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate you both being here today and answering our questions.
Pursuing Quality Long-Term Care is a program of the Avoiding Drugs as Chemical Restraints Consumer Education Campaign, a partnership of the National Consumer Voice for Quality Long-Term Care and AARP Foundation. Make sure to visit our website, theconsumervoice.org/pursuingquality, where you can share your story with us, subscribe to the podcast, and find more information about the campaign. If you enjoy the podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next episode.